Hey guys, back here with Tua for another video in what feels like has been forever. Update, pup date time, 12 months. This guy's finally 1 year old. Been a really long journey, but it's gone by really fast, I feel like. If you're new to this channel, I do these update style videos on my Bullmastiff Tua to just try and show people what it's like to live with a Bullmastiff if you're interested in the breed. I started doing these videos when he was very young, pretty much from the day that we brought him home. And I just like to log everything that I'm going through with him, like his shedding, his drooling, his behavior, his training abilities, his physical size. I update you guys on his height, his weight. And like I said, just try to create a great log of information so that you can know what to possibly expect if you're interested in getting a Bullmastiff. Then you'll at least be able to see what I went through with Tua and know that you could have a similar experience with the breed if you ended up getting one. And this channel's been turning into a really great tool for current Bullmastiff owners or people that are interested in getting one, because there's a lot of people in the comments and stuff that I'm able to bounce ideas off of, and other viewers are able to bounce ideas off of. People that are very experienced with the breed or people that are just interested. It's just becoming a great community kind of to help each other out with people that are interested in the breed or already own one. Just simple things like tips and tricks on taking care of them or training or anything. So it's been great. And not only to help other people, but then I'm going to have this great log of information to look back on one day with him when he's no longer around. So I kind of changed the channel. I used to do these videos weekly, every single Sunday. But now as he's gotten older, in my last video I kind of explained that I'm going to do them monthly now, at least this style of video, the update pup date style one. Since he's not going through as many changes and stuff like he was anymore. So here we are though, we're back with the update pup date 12-month video. So usually I like to start these videos out with just something new that I've noticed from the week, whether it be behavior or anything really, just things that stuck out to me, other than the things that I normally touch on in this style video all the time. So the big thing from this month was really that we left Tua for what was almost 2 weeks. We went down to an Alabama football game, and then we kind of traveled all around visiting family for Thanksgiving. And he stayed at home with my mother-in-law. And from everything she said, he did really, really great. I was actually kind of surprised. I thought maybe there would be a little bit more difficult times, but she said he was awesome. No real issues whatsoever, so I was really happy and surprised with that, because he knows her, but he doesn't know her that well. I think he's only stayed overnight with her once before, for like 1 day, and that was earlier this last summer. But it was awesome to hear that he did great, no issues whatsoever. And when we got home, he saw us come through the door, and he was kind of confused at first. He just kind of stopped and stared for maybe a second or two, and then he went crazy and nuts, and he was very excited to see us again. And after probably an hour, he calmed down, and he was just back to normal and kind of slept the rest of the night away after we got home. But great to know that he did well without us. So in the future, if we ever go somewhere again, we'll know that he'll be just fine. Another thing that I noticed from the week is more of a behavior, breed type thing, is he seems to definitely be tolerating the cold weather a lot better than the heat. And this is definitely like a breed standard type thing. They definitely do better in the cold than the heat. But he seems to like really enjoy the cold. So where we're at, it can routinely get down, well below zero. During the winter, we're not there yet. We're in like the 20s and 30s, I would say, pretty consistently. And he seems to absolutely love that type of weather. Like when we let him out in the backyard to go to the bathroom and stuff, or just to play, we pretty much have to go out there and drag him back inside. He absolutely is loving this cooler weather. Like I said, 20s to 30s right now, give or take. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts when it's much colder than this. 20, 30 below zero. But right now, there's just something about it. He's not even really doing anything outside. He's just walking around, hanging out, and enjoying the nice, crisp, cold air, I guess. So just kind of something to make note of. Versus when it's, 80, 90 degrees, he still likes to be outside, but he's much more willing to come back in. Where now, like I said, we pretty much literally have to go drag him inside. So just something to make note on there as far as cold weather versus warm weather. And then the last thing from the week that I wanted to just kind of touch on, make note of, kind of a big thing and definitely a new thing that I haven't experienced with him yet. I've experienced with other dogs in the past. But like 2 days before we went on our trip, he snagged one of his dew claws on something. I have no idea what. And it almost completely broke off. And it was absolutely gushing blood, pouring blood. And in situations like this, when you either trim a dog's nail too short, or a situation like this where it breaks off, if anybody's experienced that before, you know that that blood is like impossible to stop. So there's a really, really good product called styptic powder. I had to run to the store and grab this quickly, and it's an absolute lifesaver. I would recommend it to anybody. It's just a powder here that you put on the claw, and it stops bleeding pretty much instantly. I'm going to go ahead and put a link down in the description to this as well, because I think this is something that every dog owner needs to have, just as a just-in-case type product. I think the shelf life on it is like 3 or 4 years, and you're probably never going to need it, but when you do, trust me, like you absolutely need this, because it'll stop that bleeding instantly. Otherwise, you're going to have a big mess all over your house, get blood everywhere. These nails, when they bleed, man. They just go. So definitely go ahead, check out that link. I'll put it in the comments and in the description. It'll be the first one on that list of products that I have down there for Tua that I've told you guys that I update, periodically, different things that I use. But I would definitely say any dog owner, this is an absolute must-have to have kind of in the medicine cabinet as a just-in-case. Because when you need it, it's an absolute lifesaver. But as far as that claw goes, I don't know what he exactly did to it, but like I said, it broke off. It's definitely healing up nicely now, and probably kind of hard to tell, but definitely healing up nicely now. As you can kind of see compared to the other one, the size different and stuff. But glad that it stopped the bleeding and that it's healing up nicely. And basically how I use that styptic powder, it says just take a pinch with your fingers and put it on the claw. I like to just take a paper towel and damp that a little bit and stick that in the styptic powder itself, and then put that on the claw or on the nail. And I just pack it up nice and tight and hold on that area for a good 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds, just applying, slight pressure. It doesn't really seem to cause any pain or discomfort, like no burning or stinging sensations that I can tell. He never pulls away or anything, so it doesn't appear that it would. But not too sure on that. And like I said, it pretty much stops the bleeding instantly. And I was doing this like 3 or 4 times a day before we left because I didn't want my mother-in-law to have to deal with it. And she said that thing never bled at all after that. And before it was like constant bleeding until I went and got that powder. So like I said, definitely something to just have. It's a great product to have. Everybody needs it as a just-in-case type of thing. But glad he's healing up nicely now. But now with all that kind of newer stuff out of the way, I'll go ahead and touch on all the normal things that I do, and we'll start with weight like we usually do. So I just got Tua weighed in, and he is 132 pounds now at 1 year old. And I will say that he still is pretty skinny. Like, he's definitely filling out slowly, and it's starting to become a little bit more noticeable. But like when we were gone for about 2 weeks here, and when you haven't seen somebody for a while, it's easier to tell, if they've put on weight or lost weight or something like that, versus when you see them every day, it's a lot more difficult to tell. So this is the longest we've been away from him for a while. And like when we walked through the door, that was like the first thing I noticed. I was like, man, he is skinny. And it's crazy because he's 132 pounds now, and he still seems like he has so much more to fill out. He still seems skinny. You can still see his ribs when the light's hitting him, all the muscles bulging in his legs, veins in his legs. Like I always say, he's still kind of built like an athlete. So it's going to be pretty crazy to see just how much he ends up weighing when he does start filling out like crazy noticeably. Whereas right now, he's still putting on that weight nice and slow. I want to say the last pup date video I did was a week 49. And I want to say he was 128 pounds then. So he's still, kind of 1 pound a week for those, few weeks. But yeah, still very skinny. Now for his height, the last time I updated you guys on that would have been 11 months. And I want to say he was 29 and a quarter at the withers. And like I always say, you know, there's going to be a little room for human error in here. I'm just eyeballing this with a tape measure, or like this time I used a yardstick. I would say he looked like it was maybe a little bit taller than the 29 and a quarter. So we'll call it 29 and a half inches, which is taller than the breed standard here, actually. He's very, very, very tall for a bull mastiff, which is kind of interesting. He's definitely turning into be a very big boy then with his weight and with his height. I can't imagine that he's going to get much taller over the coming years here. I would say he's just about maxed out, but obviously I'll be here to document that for you guys as well. But definitely on the taller side for a bull mastiff, a little bit taller than usual for a male bull mastiff. So at 1 year old then, Tua is 29 and a half inches at the shoulder and 132 pounds. So that is a big dog. So if you guys have a big male bull mastiff, that's, you know, somewhat what you could possibly expect for a 1 year old dog. Another one of the things that I touch on in every single one of these update pup date videos is food. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know that I supplement Tua's food with raw diet, raw meat, raw vegetables, raw fruit. And I do about a 50-50 split, 50% of that being kibble and 50% of that being some sort of raw food. If you're a regular viewer, you've seen me slowly work up to this 50-50 split, which was a goal of mine for a while. And I think it's just a really nice balance of that kibble and that raw meat. I mean, I've done all kinds of stuff. If you go through and watch the videos, ground turkey, ground beef, raw eggs, chicken breast, chicken feet, chicken liver, beef liver, broccoli, carrots, strawberries. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And fish even. I kind of just get stuff as much as I can find it. And I've done a lot of research on my own. I'm still certainly no expert, but definitely look into raw diet yourself, guys. It really exposes your dog to a lot of great nutrients that they don't get with their kibble or wouldn't normally get with any kind of wet food. You can get them either. Very good for the dog. It's something that I was very apprehensive of right away because I was not familiar with it, but the more I learned, the more I researched, I realized how good it really is for the dog. Lots of people do full raw diet. Maybe one day I'll get there, but that's not in my near-term plans at all. I'm enjoying doing the 50-50 split for simplicity. And speaking of simplicity, when we were gone for our little trip here, I just had my mother-in-law feed Tua straight kibble. Just for simplicity, like I said, I didn't want her to have to deal with cutting food up, freezing, thawing, stuff like that. I just wanted her to, you know, just be as smooth sailing as possible and create as little amount of work for her as possible taking care of Tua. So with that, she just fed him his kibble, and it was the first time that he had eaten just straight kibble for a while, at least, you know, consistently. And when we got back, I also told her not to worry about picking up any of his poop in the yard either. Again, just for simplicity, didn't want her to have to deal with that. I was perfectly fine doing it when we got back. But when we got back and I went out in the backyard to go ahead and pick up all of his poop, I was pretty surprised at, first of all, how much there was. I wasn't expecting there to be that much for that amount of time that we were gone. And I also noticed that a lot of it, I'd say at least 75% of those poops were very soft. I wouldn't say that they were diarrhea necessarily. Some of them were, but most of them were not. But they were very, very soft, like a soft serve ice cream almost. And that is not typical, not normal for Tua at all since he's been on this raw diet. His poop is generally very firm, just kind of a normal, what you would consider healthy looking stool, I guess. And so that was interesting, and that's definitely from the diet change. I don't know what else I would chalk that up to. But once we got him back here on this more of a raw diet 50-50 split, that stool, that poop firmed right back up, you know, within 24 hours, honestly, and it's been normal ever since. So just something interesting to make note of as far as raw diet goes. Another one of the things that I touch on is his energy and his energy levels and how that's changed as he's grown. So lately when I've made these videos, I've explained to you guys how he kind of has two windows during the day when his energy level is a little bit on the higher side. And that would be the first 2 to 3 hours in the morning when we wake up, and then like the last 2 3 hours in the day, kind of, around that dinner time. He's generally a little bit more higher energy in those windows, and kind of only in those windows. During the day, he does a lot of just laying around, chewing, sleeping, just kind of walking around, hanging out by us. So those 2 windows are definitely, I'd say, when it's the highest. And overall, I'd say it's definitely progressively going down, and kind of has been going that way for the last month or maybe 2. There was a time, you'd have to look back in the videos to get exact times and ages, but there was a time when that energy level was progressively going up. And now it's definitely progressively going down, which is kind of normal, I would imagine, as they age. Bull Mastiffs are known to be a little bit on the lazier side, and Tua is definitely falling into that mold, slowly but surely. I will say he's definitely noticeably becoming less and less active when inside, but when we go outside, it's like a switch flips and he becomes more active. He wants to run around. He'll get Zoomies sometimes, and it can still get pretty high when outside. And that's definitely another thing that I want to bring up, that I've brought up many times in the past. But if you have young kids, especially that are much smaller than your dog, your Bull Mastiff, especially when these dogs have Zoomies or are higher energy at times, definitely watch out for the kids, because they can and will knock those kids down to the ground. Not in an aggressive way in any way, but just, they're huge dogs and the kids are little and everybody's excited, and they'll run into the kids. He's knocked my kids down, and it's just something to look out for. Nothing too crazy, but definitely could potentially be kind of dangerous if that dog's got a full head of steam going and knocks over a little 2-3-year-old kid. Drooling is another thing that I touch on in these videos, and it's something that I want to keep touching on, even though it's becoming repetitive, like I've said, because I know it's a big topic when people are considering the breed. Are Bull Mastiffs droolers? Yes. How big of droolers are they? Well, at least in my experience with Tua, his drooling is pretty much down to 90% of it is just when he's drinking his water. So water related. After he's done drinking, he will have that water be pouring out of his mouth, his jowls, and it does create quite the mess. But like I say all the time, not a big deal to me, because I always am standing there ready with a rag or paper towels or something to go ahead and wipe that up immediately. Or like I've said too, we're moving his water outside a lot now, and we'll continue to do that until it's too cold and it's freezing too quickly. And that just keeps the mess outside. He will also drool if he's like watching me prepare his food, but it's not as intense of drooling as, immediately after drinking water. But that's definitely probably the second most messy that it will get. And the only other situations that he'll do some drooling is if he's hot and panting, like if it's hot outside and we're running around, or he's playing, or if he gets really stressed or excited. But in the hot and panting and stressed or excited times, it's definitely nothing compared to like when he's drinking water. It's just slightly. And with all of these drooling scenarios, you kind of know when they're all coming, so it's really not that big of a deal. Like I said, it's mainly around water where it's creating quite the mess. And so yeah, he definitely drools, but he's not a dog that drools when he's just like lounging around the house or something. There has to be an outside variable making him drool, kind of thing. So Bull Mastiffs are droolers. They are big droolers, but those situations that they're going to be drooling in. They don't just drool from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. It's nothing like that at all, at least in my experience. Socialization is another thing that I touch on. And so since we just got back like a week ago, we haven't had an opportunity to do too much socializing with them. I did get them on, 3-4 good walks. Like I say all the time, I routinely take him on 1 to 2 mile walks. We'll try to get him out to parks and stuff when we take the kids to parks, but now with the weather getting colder, we're not going to be doing as much of that. And like I've said in these videos also, the socialization is kind of slowly going down for us right now. We used to treat it like it was a part-time job when we first got him. And you need to if you get a Bull Mastiff. You need to socialize these dogs, because if you can't control them when they turn into 132 pounds like Tua is now and soon to be bigger, you're going to be in trouble. So you want to socialize these dogs a lot, treat it like a part-time job. Like I said, we took him to stores all the time. We took him over to other people's houses all the time, walks all the time, exposed him to dogs all the time, people all the time, new sights, sounds, smells. I mean, come up with anything you can think of. Have people come over, ring the doorbell, all kinds of stuff. You want these dogs to be used to every situation that you could possibly think of to expose them to, so that they are used to it as they get older. So ask me, anything that I did to socialize him as he was growing up, and I'll be more than happy to tell you. Or, just watch these videos from 9-10 weeks on up to today, and you'll see kind of exactly what I did. That's why I'm doing these videos too, to show you what I did to help shape and mold Tua. Barking is the last thing that I touch on. So Tua is not much of a barker, but I will say it is slowly and steadily increasing, just related around our yard. If he's in our backyard, he's definitely becoming more guarding, and he will let out barks now if he's hearing sounds or like dogs off in the distance barking, or the neighbors in the yard kind of banging around or something like that. He's starting to bark at that. He's starting to perk his ears up, and it's starting to become like consistent barking. Like almost every time he goes outside now, he's having a moment where he is letting out barks, but it's not for very long, guys. 30 seconds at most. He figures out it's not a threat or whatever, and he's all done. And I've mentioned this many times too. Outside of our house, outside of our yard, he doesn't bark at all. Like maybe one time I've ever heard him bark outside of our house or yard. Like if we're going on walks and he's seeing dogs or people, he just looks at them, he perks up, but he doesn't let out any barks. And we can walk by a dog that's in their yard, and that dog will be on the other side of the fence, going crazy barking at Tua, and Tua doesn't bark back. Now, if we were in our yard and that dog was on the other side of the fence, then, maybe he would. But outside of our yard, in a situation where he's not trying to guard his property or whatever, very, very, very quiet dog. No barking whatsoever. It's all related to around our yard and our house. Which is kind of typical to the breed, because they're not known to be big barking dogs. Other than that, guys, that's all I have for the 12-month update, pup date. If you stayed and watched the whole thing, really, really do appreciate it. These are going to be a little bit longer now because they are a month apart now instead of a week. So I feel like, though, they're going to have a lot better content for you guys, a lot more to cover. So again, really appreciate if you stuck around for the whole thing. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Glad to be back doing these, and take care.